D2Gs, how you guys doing out there today? Alright, so we got ourselves another video here with the Strand Titan and an exotic of choice, the Heart of INMOST Light. And I wanted to go ahead and see if this exotic would do pretty well with the Strand subclass. And I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because I mean, this exotic was an old school meta where they've used this with every single build, Void build, Solar build, Arc build, and so forth. But I wanted to see it with the Strand, and it actually did pretty well. So you can kind of go ahead and see in the gameplay here in a law sector. You can go ahead and see how well as a solo play you can kind of see how we get all of our abilities back at a decent pace, and or in the next clip with allies and with a little bit of a harder content, and you can kind of see how well it fares out with survivability and damage. So please feel free to continue on watching the clips and or skip to the build. See you guys at the build.
Of the righteousness of your causes. Not pausing to consider that just because something is a lie, that doesn't mean it can't also be the truth.
and for the build, let's go ahead and start off with our fragments. So for our abilities, we're using Rally Barricade, we're using the Strafe Lift, we're using the Frenzied Blade, and we're using Shackle Grenade. But now, every now and then I'll go ahead and swap out to that Treadling Grenade, but for the most part, I'm just using the Shackle Grenades because, hey, we strand them up in the air and we were able to go ahead and shoot them up. Even though that was nerfed, they shut it down a couple seconds, but it's still a good addition to any strand build. For our next aspects now is going to be Into the Fray, and we're using Banner of War, our coveted aspect right there. So now, Into the Fray. Into the Fray, I normally sometimes I swap it, which you have the option to as well. You can swap it with Dranger's Lash. I use the Into the Fray just because whenever I go ahead and destroy a Tangle, I am already granted Woven Mail. Woven Mail, for those who aren't familiar with that word, it's just an overshield. You get like a little shield, kind of like when you have a void, so you get a void overshield. Well, this is a strand overshield. I will normally swap that with the Dranger's Lash just because whenever I use my barricade or use my small barricade here, I'll be able to go ahead and strand anybody up in this way. It'll send out like a little seeker and it'll just go ahead and lift the ad up that's right in front of it. So that's a cool little perk, I guess, addition for you to go ahead and use Dranger's Lash over Into the Fray. Whichever one of those you may prefer, you can always swap those out. Alright, for our fragments, we are using Thread of Warding because picking up any orbital power grants us Woven Mail. We're using Thread of Fury for our next fragments because while we're damaging any Tangle, it grants us melee energy as well. We're using Thread of Transmutation, so while we are in Woven Mail, so while we have that protective shield, any final blows with our weapons will also create a Tangle. And our last frag is going to be a Thread of Generation, so dealing any damages to any ad will also create give us grenade energy. Alright, so now for our helmet, we are using Harmonic Siphon, we are using Powerful Friends, and we are using Heavy Ammo Finder. For our gauntlets, we are using Momentum Transfer, we are using Grenade Kickstart, and we are using Bolstering Detonation. And for our chest piece, which is the highlight of the video, it's going to be the Heart of Inmost Light is what we're using. And if you're not familiar with the Heart of Inmost Light, this exotic for the Titan is almost like the best meta in a sense of exotic armor that you can use for any subclass. You can use this for your arc, you can use this for solar, you can use this for stasis, and of course we're using it here for strand because basically what it does is any ability that you use, it empowers the other ability to regenerate faster, and it also gives you a damage buff as well too while you're using this. So if you use your rift, I mean not your rift, I'm sorry, if you use your barricade, if you use your grenade, or if you use your melee, any one of those, by you using one of them, it'll go ahead and help regen the next one faster and so forth. So that's what's really good about this exotic chest piece for the Titan. But for the mods that we're using here, it's going to be Void Resistance, and we're using Arc Resistance. You can always swap any resistance that you are using or that you may need for the activity that you're doing. And I'm using Emergency Reinforcement. Alright, for boots, what we are using is Elemental Charge, we have Recuperation, and we are using Strand Weapon Surge. For our Titan Mark, we are using Powerful Attraction, we are using Reaper, and we are using Bomber. For our weapons, so long as you're using any double strand weaponry for any strand build, like I always recommend everyone to get whenever they're using their builds or they're showing up with their builds, just try and use double of that archetype in the weapon for that character that you're using. So here we're using the Quicksilver Storm, but if you don't have access to the Quicksilver Storm, you can always use the Monte Carlo, which will also help you gain your melee energy very fast. Here in my energy slot, I'm using a hand cannon that has Demolitionist on there. You can also, Demolitionist is also a great option, which also helps you gain your grenade energy pretty fast as well too. And for my heavy weapon, I'm just using a sword, which helps me proc my banner of war a lot faster versus me using my melee. But you can also swap it, and I sometimes do swap it out to the machine gun or any other weapon that is also strand. Alright guys, so alright, please leave a message down below. Let me know if you like this little build here, if it worked out for you. Back in the days, this was a meta exotic that helped everybody out in all of the end game content, and it's still a good, decent exotic to choice for you to use. But alright guys, please leave a like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Have a good one guys. Peace.